This is the Texas Tinfoil Podcast.
So, everybody, welcome to the Texas Tinfoil Podcast. Got both the hosts here.
Yeah.
Tex and Mogley. Actually doing a podcast together in the same building this time. So, we're currently at the gallery. We're sipping some New Amsterdam gin, and I got mine mixed with the Monster.
And I got mine with the old school gin and juice, you know? Gotta have that gin and juice, baby.
The orange juice, yeah.
Gotta get that OJ.
So we're kicking it here for a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and run this podcast. The subject for this one is going to be kind of an old one. It's going to be covering a legendary, in my opinion, a legendary creature, right? So
I want to say mythical.
Well, I mean legendary.
If we go with the lore, there's top tier like S and stuff. I'm gonna say mythicals because I think those are OG type mythic creatures that everybody talks about. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you know. But anyways,
to me, I mean, like along with several other creatures, right? I'm just gonna say the werewolf is almost timeless, right? Along with a few other ones that we got the vampires, the werewolves, the witches, and then of course you got the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is the reptilian creature, whatever you want to call it.
And then of course your old school Frankenstein.
I mean, like maybe the Frankenstein monster is real, maybe it's based on that little book.
You know, but zombies could be real.
Well, maybe. But for right now, what we're covering is the werewolf, and we're going to cover the werewolf in a way that we're going to ask two questions, right? So, the werewolf, a legendary creature or mankind's malevolence? Real questions. So, the werewolf. Now, the name of the werewolf or the name werewolf, Dogman, there's several other ones. Like the Rougarou by French, Rougarou. It's the werewolf itself is a name that has transcended time and human written history. As far back as we can remember, these things have been around. Now, there are some questions to be asked when we discuss such a pretty rich topic with a big history.
Right.
Now, all of this is full of stories and lore when it comes to the werewolf. So the results of mankind or human death and suffering over all of these centuries across all of what we consider to be the Western world. That's where this is most prevalent. So the first question, are werewolves real? Are they this legendary creature, this beast? Or are the werewolves only a moniker, which is like a nickname, right? A moniker.
Right. Like
for the vile depravity that humanity itself is capable of performing on each other. That's the real question here. Which one of these two is most likely?
I'm gonna say I don't believe in this shit.
Well, maybe. I mean, the history is littered with bodies of both the victims and the killers,
right,
that have been laid to waste by the communities that surround them.
I believe in lunatics. If you've ever heard of the word lunatic, apparently full moons make certain things out of whack. I say you've seen people talk about, the tidal waves that come in because of a full moon. You hear of people going crazy over a full moon, hence the name lunatic. You know what I mean?
Anyone who ever has worked in or near an ER, emergency room, or trauma center, anything that has to do with medical care, full moons that's a real thing. Yes. We will discuss several, but not all, just a few anecdotes in the podcast today, along with minor discussion on some of the submitted or claimed proof that skeptics and cryptozoologists have presented and turned in for analysis. So, there's a few of those. I'll add that in toward the end there. Just right. So that way we cover all the bases and we try to be as unbiased and just present all the facts there. Now, Mogley's already said that he doesn't buy it. He doesn't believe that the werewolf thing is real. So,
although it is my favorite crypto, I'll give you that. It is my favorite crypto. I do love werewolves.
There are a few things. There are a few things that have been submitted that have not been explained. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. So we'll just leave it at that for now. Mogley, we'll do what we always do.
Okay.
As always, it's up to the audience to find out.
If it's real,
Yeah, to find an answer for themselves.
yes. So I got 2 stories for you, and these are recorded as real, but the werewolf part, you know what I mean?
Maybe.
But let's get started. So the first guy is named Peter Stump. Stump being spelled Stubbe. It's Stump, though. That's how you say it. Peter, aka the werewolf of Bedburg, which I guess what is that, Germany or London? London, right?
Bedburg? I'm not sure.
Bedburg. Regardless, Bedburg. So there is a pamphlet, a lurid pamphlet that was circulated in London in 1590, right? Who, from his youth, was greatly inclined to allude to made the deal with the devil. This guy made the deal with the devil. Okay? So the story goes that when he made the deal with the devil, that the devil gave him a belt. So this belt was to give him the power to transform to a wolf, dog man, werewolf. You know, you get the drift. So let's see, Bedburg. It's Germany.
Bedburg is in Germany. I just Googled it real fast.
Just to make sure. You know,
I'm not familiar with the story. This is a whole story.
Yeah. I believe it was in Germany. Bedburg does sound like a German thing. I didn't really get too much into specifics other than Bedburg. But when he made the deal with the devil, the thing was to work his malice on men, women, and children. Okay. So when he shapeshifts into this beast, you know, he's the executor of a bloody enterprise. You know what I mean? I'm just he's the dude. So what ends up happening, this guy, supposedly, when he gets the belt, he turns into a greedy, devouring wolf. That was the story. You know, and this guy is actually a serial killer. It's been going on for 25 years in this period. So I mean, that's a lot.
For a long time.
What makes it worse is this dude was also accused of incest with his daughter, and he killed and ate his son. Like, this is like legit fucked up. Like, I don't even know where to begin.
How do we always end up with these stories in the podcast? What is the deal with fucking incest and fucking killing children and shit? Like, this happens way more in history than what we hear about, I guess, in school. It's fucking. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
It's just crazy. I'm just saying, this always happens. So people kept on thinking that because of the 25-year period, you know, people dying, the town got it in their head that demons were actually killing people. And, you know, you got to think about this. If you really think about this, this was a different time when people believed in witches, demons. You know, you couldn't even say the word witch without getting prosecuted there, you know. This guy's a real piece of work, and yeah, he deserved to die.
Fuck that guy.
So, you know, this guy, you know, I'm sure he was executed. Not much was really said. I was still looking into the story, but not much was really said other than that. But that was the first story, which I thought was interesting. Now, do I believe that this dude was impacted with the devil? Well, you know, religious people will say otherwise. You know, that being said, I personally think he may have had a mental disability, like
Well,
a mental. He was crazy.
Well, without getting like deeply religious in any field of religion, what is the proper word or description for somebody who molests and has committed incest with their daughter, and then kills and eats their own son? the word that comes to my mind is evil. I don't know of any other descriptor that I don't know of any other descriptor that really encompasses that fucking. You can say it's a mental disorder or whatever, but I mean, I call a spade a spade. That's fucking evil.
Right.
That's fucking evil. There ain't no way around it.
Well, shit is a horse, and there's a bear shit in the woods, of course.
So, like, to make a pact with the devil, I don't know if that's the way they said that. If that's a literal, like, the literal devil showed up and he was like, "Hey, bro, let me hook you up." You know what I mean?
He goes to the crossroads and said, "Hey, can I have that belt?"
I mean, but like then again, like the devil did get his ass whooped in Georgia by a dude with a fiddle. So I mean, the devil's not that great.
And he went down to Georgia for sure.
He's not that great at some things, you know. I don't know. So like, what did he do to this guy? This guy just said, "Hey, bro, that's a nice belt. Can I borrow that?" Like, is that what he did? Or, not, because you said he made a deal. So
yeah, that's basically what he said. It said, from his youth was greatly inclined to elude. He made a deal with the devil and requested specifically to work his malice on men, women, and children.
in other words,
Thus, he did for 25 years. This guy did.
well,
Just that.
that's kind of like saying like these fucking hands are rated E for everyone, right?
Right.
That's a piece of shit right there, bro. Fuck that.
This guy did a bloody enterprise.
I mean, some of the most heartless killers are like, look, man, no kids, no women. Like that.
There's some with codes. I'll give them
No, I'm not saying all of them,
but I'm just saying there are some with
yeah,
codes.
yeah.
But does it make it right? No, it doesn't. Let's just be real. It doesn't.
No, like we're not giving a free pass to fucking murderers. We're not, or killers for hire or any of that. We're not passing anybody.
I mean, if they're pedophiles, I think they're different on that.
Well, pedophiles are people, so that doesn't count.
Okay.
Fuck them, bro. They don't count.
That's true.
But like,
Condoning
you
that,
get mad and kill someone in a bar fight. That's one thing, man. But like, you know, if you go out of your way and you're just like, hey, I'm just gonna murk everyone.
It doesn't matter, men, women, children.
Yeah,
Whoever's in my way, they're going down.
Fuck that.
I can't do it. So that was one story, which is very interesting.
And what year was this?
This was 1589, I believe.
Okay. Now there are stories prior to this for the werewolf. The French have their version. The Germans, the British, everybody, every region, the Spanish all have
Like the
their.
Werewolf in Paris.
Yeah,
Werewolf in
yeah.
London.
They all have. You know, that's a good movie. We all saw,
Yeah.
you know, we all saw the werewolf movies, but back in the days, everyone had their kind of superstitious thing, and the werewolf was like was everywhere.
So that's one story, you know,
And
and that time frame was 1589. See, so we're setting time frames so you can understand like the logic, and that's just one time frame for a werewolf story. There are more, and it gets more upper until now. I mean, it comes till now. There are people in Romania, in Transylvania, that still say that there's werewolves out there, and there's videos.
They're real. To these people that live out there.
Oh, they're real. You can't say nothing shit because you don't live there. You don't know what these guys have been through. And I believe there's something out there, but I don't know if it's a werewolf. Could be a massive wolf, man. Some type of wolf species we haven't even.
Some kind of dire wolf or something.
Like a dire wolf. You know, there are things that that are still exist that were extinct millions and millions of years ago, and we're finding them now.
Well, not even then. There are animals that were hunted to extinction supposedly,
And
that they said they were done. Like in Yellowstone, not to get too far off subject, but in Yellowstone there were wolves that supposedly were already wiped out. I'm sorry, not Yellowstone. It's the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh yeah.
Over
I
on the
remember
East
that.
Coast. On the East Coast, they said they hunted all these timber wolves to extinction, that they were gone. And out of nowhere, there's been, for the past 20-something years, these wolves they've survived. They've been alive, but they've been in hiding deep in the woods and deep in the mountains.
Right.
And there's this huge pack of them now that they're starting to come back out of the mountains, but they retreated all the way up in there, and they avoided all human contact because they were almost wiped out. And life, to quote Jeff Goldblum here, life always finds a way. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be Jurassic Park for it to happen. It's just
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
that guy. So the second story I'm going to tell you, it comes from France. His name is Jacques Roulet. I think I said it right. Anyways, Jacques Roulet. He was called the Werewolf of Anglers, or also known as the Werewolf of Claude, which came from two French towns, by the way. So this guy's been terrorizing two French towns. Comes from 1865 account by antiquarian, right? Is that how I say it? Writer Sabrine Bogold. So she writes, in 1598, they found a mutilated body of a teenage boy.
Now, this is close to the same time frame of your first story, right?
Right, almost. Okay. It's like 89, 98.
Close enough, within 10, 15 years.
Yeah. So the teenage boy was discovered in the woods. There was wood spotted. They discovered in the woods, and there was, of course, wolves spotted nearby. But not far away, Roulette was also found wounded and half naked. It's those movies where the guy who wakes up in the cow field and he's all naked, he's all, not a kid. He runs away.
Like, those people exist in the world.
On all levels except physical, I am a wolf.
Oh, God.
I mean,
Lord, for real, though. I mean,
why not, bro? Fuck.
Why not? Oh, we're gonna get canceled for this by those fucking community.
I don't give a fuck.
The queer community is gonna come after us.
Oh well, bro. You shit in the litter box or whatever, bro.
That's on you. Hey, everybody's fair game. I don't care who you are. You can be a pool stick for all I care. You're gonna be.
I mean, I identify as a attack helicopters. So.
I mean, I identify as an AK-47.
Sexual tyrannosaurus.
Just like Jason Ventura and the movie Predator. He called himself a sexual tyrannosaurus.
Bunch of slap-jawed faggots around here. This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Just like me.
Oh, like, bro. He was the original. He was the original.
So, let's get off subject here, which is funny. He was arrested. So, Roulette was arrested, Jacques was arrested. He did confess to the murder, but he was given a salve that he transformed into a werewolf, and he was a slave, basically, to werewolf. No. How hard do I believe that? I don't know.
No, a salve back in the day, this is like early medicine, right? Which is like they give you like a cream, their tinctures and salves. Salves are like similar to like aloe vera, right?
Oh,
Consistency of that. So they give you something that you put on, and then that magically gives you the ability to transform.
Apparently, according to this guy.
Oh wow!
But you know what's more wild? That little boy wasn't his first kill.
Really?
No. He said that he's murdered and eaten others. He's not only a murderer, but he's actually a cannibal at this point. There are other cases of it, but they're not clear record. There's no clear record of how many this guy's done. But he's confessed. They said that there's no clear record of him being tortured to confess that he was a werewolf. Kind of like, the Salem witch trials where, he would do some crazy shit like that. There's no record of that. But he did confess, and he was sentenced. He said that he did not confess that there was no devil dealings in this one. So this one wasn't no devil dealings. He was just
Him by himself.
eaten by himself. That magically found cream that made him turn into a werewolf. Apparently, I don't know.
That never happened to you before when you got a sunburn and you're just like, fuck, bro. You get some aloe vera rubbing on your neck, bro.
Turn into
My goal is to show up naked, bro, beating the shit out of random people in the woods. Fucking chilling. Nah, I can't say that's ever happened to me, but I mean, hey, you know what, bro? Maybe the sounds they had back then. I don't know. Just running around naked in the woods, bro, beating the shit out of people. I don't know.
But so this guy.
That Sarah B was fucking hardcore back then.
Bro, this guy was actually sentenced to death row for sure. I mean, come on, man. You're gonna eat and kill people. You're no longer a human being. You are a danger to society, my good.
And he admitted to doing it without being for people that are unfamiliar, in the older days, they would get you to confess. And if you refused, they would torture you like that. We don't have that now. You can't torture people in America anyway. You can't just beat the shit out of them and torture people until they confess. You have to get a confession through other means. But back then, that's why so many people that were probably innocent died, because they were tortured. They were put on the rack. They were put in all these different contraptions to where they would just say they would confess to anything just for it to stop, and then they would be executed.
So this is what he was sentenced to death for. They did. This is where it gets fucking intense. So bear with me on this. Murder, obviously, lycanthropy, and of course your favorite, cannibalism.
Oh yes.
So I didn't even know that you can be sentenced to death for being a lycanthrope. It's just like, oh shit, I didn't identify as a wolf. Now they're gonna be judged. Oh yeah, you're gonna be judged hard. You're gonna go to death because not only did you murder and cannibalize people, but you're also a lycanthrope. Why not kill the lycanthrope?
You know, the modern day furries are fucking triggered. like don't get me wrong, man. Lycanthrope or lycanthropy, right? Which is where you're supposed to be a human, but you're kind of like in this in between world of half human, half wolf, right? You transform back and forth. Like, how do they prove that?
I don't know.
If it's a crime, you have to be able to prove. Hey, you stole something. I found it in your pocket. That's proof.
Well, at least with the Salem witch trials, they had tests. I mean, they were fucked up tests.
Yeah,
you're known to die from these tests, but at least they had some sort of test.
That does not make it any better. You know how the guys on TikTok.
Oh God, I can't even. I'm dead. He said, "No cap, bro."
Send that motherfucker to the chair, bro. Send that motherfucker to the chair.
But there is something crazy about this. So he was sentenced to death row, right?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, he got an appeal from the judge, where the judge actually claimed him mentally ill. So instead of him going to death row, he was committed to an insane asylum and religious education for 2 years. Now, that being said,
Oh yeah,
he probably eventually died, but I don't think he was coming out of that insane asylum. I mean,
I'm slightly familiar with this story. They sent him to a priory, which for people that aren't familiar with that, priory is kind of like it'd be like sending someone to like a monastery, right? To a monks. The priors are similar to that, and it's where they basically just focus on teaching you about the Bible, God, and stuff like that. It's kind of like a super hardcore religious retreat. So they're going to do this to educate this guy about God and the Bible, and then he dies, I believe, within 2 years. And he was treated fairly. He was given food and water, but he just died, and it was kind of unexplained as to how that happened, if I remember that part of the story correct.
oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm not trying to steal your thunder.
No. Go for it, man. I mean, I'm just like I said. These are short stories that I found. I thought they're interesting to tell. It's just crazy how people make up a werewolf story just to get some clout. I say clout like that because how are you gonna say, hey man, I'm gonna come up to you, Tex, and I'm gonna be like, Tex, I got a super secret that I've been holding for a long time. I'm a werewolf. What the hell are you gonna think? First of all, you're gonna think this motherfucker is so stupid. I don't know where to begin with this. 2, if it's true, I want to see this motherfucker transform in front of my eyes. And 3, if he just has a mental disability, I'll just let it go and pretend nothing really happened to this kid.
Mental retardation has a lot of different, fucking levels, bro. Just there's motherfuckers on the spectrum. This is where we are. Like, I mean, oh well, bro. Like, this is why most people ended up being killed back then, because you know they're like, we're making light of it. Don't misunderstand. We're making light of it right now, but
The laws back then were fucking
20 something, 25 plus people died, right?
25 years of people. Who
Well,
knows?
or-
It could be in the hundreds,
You're right.
maybe thousands.
I misspoke.
It never said like
25 years.
he
worth of
never
murder.
said how many fucking people. I'm sure he's actually like listed these guys. I'm sure in the
And he terrorized 2 towns, right? So imagine if you go from one town, murk a couple people, you get some heat on you. Go to the other town, murk some people, you get some heat on you. This one's died down, and you go back. So you're going back and forth for 25 years. You got to know the woods pretty well. You got to know both towns pretty well. So, and then at the same time, you're playing this cat and mouse game. So even though we'd say these people are fucking evil and they're trash and they're not even really human, I mean, in that sense, I guess they are kind of werewolves because they're not people. Human beings don't do that to the human being.
Yeah, at this point, I feel like they're monsters. Like a true monster, you know. You depict monsters as, you know, creatures of the night and things like that. Well, think about it this way: people can be monsters too. You know, I wouldn't say so much as being a werewolf, but I believe in monsters. People can be monsters, man, and I truly believe that. I truly believe that all that can. And I could see why people would say, "Oh, this guy's a werewolf." I saw the guy with fur, you know, and he was like 7 foot something when he transformed or something. I can legitimately see why people would assume something like that. I mean, you see a man tearing into like a innocent, you know, God knows what he's doing. Maybe he has a knife, but in your eyes, you don't see the knife. You just see a shadow going like this with hands, you know, tearing somebody apart, and the guy's screaming. I'm just saying.
You're exactly right. Now here's the other thing too. I think that's a very, very proper lens to see it through, because whenever you're doing this, you're like, you got to remember, we're already desensitized to so much of the violence because of TV shows and video games and all this stuff. In the 1500s, they didn't have any of that shit. You didn't see no one's insides. That's not a normal thing.
No.
You see the insides of your goats, sheep, your cows, whatever, when you're butchering.
Butchers.
Right. So when you're 12, 13 years old and all you know is this field because you're a farmer, your parents are farmers and whatever, and all you did was raise beef, for example, or whatever. You had your sheep and your little lamb farm, and you're running your sheep to go get something, you know, in this field to go eat for a while. You're shepherding them out there, and you don't hear any screams, you don't hear anything, but something smells terrible. And you walk out there, and there's a kid that's your age that's laying there, just eviscerated, laying in the grass with the bottom half of them just
torn off and everything,
and from the chest down, it looks like fucking crap, like crushed raspberries.
Right.
I mean, that's gotta fuck a kid pretty hardcore.
That's where the mental illness would have came in for me. Like I would have been traumatized because
They tell a story of this could not be another human being that does that to a person.
right.
This has to be a monster. This has to be some fucking creature. And everybody before has told the story of a werewolf, this big hulking beast, and you're like, that's what the fuck had to have done it.
Right.
And that story continues on because you don't see it happening. You just see the aftermath.
Or maybe the children were walking, they heard somebody screaming, they ran to see what it was, and they see the dead body, and they just see fur, a furry figure run into the
Shadowy figure running into the woods.
And that was pretty big. You know, that
When you're a kid, bro,
holy shit, it was a wolf.
and then you tell your parents, who are now horrified because their son or daughter is the one laying in that field.
And then you tell them, and then you explain the story. It was a hairy, big creature. What's gonna happen? It's a werewolf. A werewolf in this town. Oh my god!
And all of us in Europe, these are all peasant times. Remember, they're not allowed to have firearms and things like that. These guys have their pitchforks, their torches, like the
But you got to remember too, there was. I don't even think there was such thing as firearms. Maybe back in the day, maybe
they're
flintlocks.
flintlocks and shit like that.
Okay.
So I mean, in the 1500s, maybe not, but I mean, you had like the blunderbuss and things like that.
Mm.
But I'm just saying, those guys, you're still looking at right around like medieval times, knights and shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
So their arms would be, swords and things. They're using gardening and they're using like harvesting tools as weapons at this point because they're just grabbing anything they can to poke holes into something to where it dies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anything will die if you poke enough holes in it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Spears.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Be like Sid the Shock. Don't scare me. That's what I think.
when they talk about this thing transforming, right? I kind of tried to imagine this thing,
Going in a berserk mode, maybe.
something like that. Like
Seeing red.
it's like most people, whenever something happens to them, and they call it just seeing red or blacking out, or they don't have any recollection as to what they did.
I think that would make sense with you.
They just come back. Yeah, they just come back, and they're like, "What happened?" Right? And I mean, if you look, werewolves always have like hardcore murder, the death of children for sure, and them playing with the deity. Ancient Greeks back then, they had their story for the werewolf thing, the lycanthrope. Who was it? King Lycan, whatever. He had challenged Zeus. He was like, "Hey, I don't think you're all knowing. I don't think you're all badass. You whatever." And he was tempting him.
So that's what I can.
Zeus was like the top god of the Greek mythological.
Everybody knows Zeus.
Yeah, I'm not trying to blow it off. I'm just saying, like, I don't have to explain stuff that everybody knows.
Right.
But he ended up killing one of his own children. Killed him, cooked him up, and tried to serve his flesh to Zeus as a meal to see if Zeus would be able to tell the difference between this being a person or it being some animal from the field or whatever. Mm-hmm. Zeus saw what he did, got so pissed off that he turned him into a wolf. That was the story. Turned him into a wolf. He lost his kingship, lost everything. And then Zeus like murked his kids. I don't know why he would do that, but Zeus is one of the guys that's just like, fuck it, everybody can catch it. Mm-hmm. So all of his kids caught strays, like stray bullets, bro. Yeah. They got fucked up for nothing. Or maybe they were complicit. I don't know. And the one son that he murdered was brought back to life and, restored and all that stuff. And supposedly from that point forward, that's where the werewolf thing originates from.
Okay. So King Lycan, lycanthropy makes sense.
So supposedly his bloodline is cursed or whatever, and then only so many can come from there. But so like this is what we mean by it going way further back.
Right.
So there's always a story or origin.
There are 3 ways supposedly you can turn into a werewolf. The first way, getting bit. But the only way you can get bit is if you get bit by an alpha. There's a difference. You can't just get bit by some random hobo wolf,
Some hobo werewolf.
You
got any change? I don't have any. He's bite the kid in.
He's got 2 teeth like SpongeBob. He's like,
I'll get that motherfucker 2x4 here. You got something in your teeth. I got just 2 say, bro.
And the second way is if a wolf paw print is on the floor and rainwater gets in there and you drink the rainwater from the paw print. That's the second one. And then there's a third one.
It's weird.
The third one is a ritual, I think. I just don't know
exactly. Deal with the devil, right?
No, it's a ritual. It doesn't have to be it's with the deity. I don't know what the deity is called, but let's just say it. Basically, making a deal with the devil because deities all revolve around evil.
Something on the other side of the veil. Yeah.
So, but it is a ritual, and that's how you become a werewolf. So there's 3 ways. But
imagine how amazing it would be, dude, to witness a normal person just collapse to the ground and be in the throes of an overwhelming force.
I would be horrified because apparently when you listen to these things, people, when they turn, apparently the history of werewolves, when people turn into a werewolf, they physically die. Bet you didn't know that. They literally die. All their bones are breaking to become something. So they die. This is what's so horrifying. They die a painful death to become this demonic being of a wolf. And then they resurrect again just to relive that shit over and over and over.
And it's supposedly every full moon, right?
Right, every full moon.
So every once a month, bro. You want to talk about your woman having problems, bro? When it's her time of the month, bro. Your time of the month, I don't want to hear no females talk shit ever again. Bro, you have to die every breath, man.
Once a month, you die just to become some fucked up, super berserk beast that can wipe out a whole village or a whole town, just to come back and relive that shit again every once a month.
Now, here's the other thing too. Like when you change your form, you're talking about your bones breaking. I've heard, I mean, not listened, but I've read, right?
This is me reading, by the way.
Right. And this is us going through, like, the werewolf lore is so thick. Any direction you go, man,
it can go down a rabbit hole its own.
People are making up stuff left and right. There's like some old stuff people have added to. It's hard to kind of tell what the original real stuff is.
Right.
You know, and then not only that, you also have like the media, like the movies and books and stuff.
Oh, fun fact about silver.
Fan fiction.
Fun fact about silver. The reason why werewolves, and apparently werewolves, anything evil like werewolves, vampires, witches, silver, the reason why they're weak to that is because here's crazy. It gets biblical when I read this. It gets religious. Silver is cursed. It's a cursed item. Because the reason why it's so cursed is because silver was what was used to bribe Judas to betray Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it becomes a cursed item. So silver was a cursed item. So when werewolves get hit with silver and stuff, it's because of that curse of what happened back in those times.
Well, see, I don't know. I've read that. I have a question.
Crazy.
I have a question about that. Okay, so if silver's cursed,
I mean, why do we wear it?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, not only that, but if the being is evil and silver is used for evil, how would that hurt?
I think it's the curse of the evil.
Well,
like
I don't believe that part. I just believe that silver, like colloidal silver, like the silver is supposed to have a purifying property to it.
Right. And that's what I was thinking too. The purifying part.
I've heard of the silver, the curse of silver.
Right.
But there are a lot of ornaments and a lot of things made.
But I also think there's some like
with silver.
When I read that, I kind of feel like there's some. There's what's the word I'm looking for? It's more like there's some sort of things that don't add up.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I forget what the word is. There's a word for it, but I'll watch during the podcast when we're doing this. I'm gonna remember it. I'm gonna say, "Oh yeah, that word." But yeah, it always happens. You guys know what I'm talking about. Try to think of something that finally comes out like all late and shit.
Yeah. Whenever you transform into this wolf, like the other thing that I was talking about that I read was that not everybody who's bitten by this werewolf or whatever, following that vein of lore, not everyone that's bitten turns into a werewolf. That, like you said, you have to kind of die or whatever. Right. The ones that die permanently mid-transformation, and their body is too weak to house that. So when they die, they just die. Whatever it is that the process is, because their body is being fucked, right? Being fucked over by this.
So basically, you would have to be a strong-willed individual
your body,
for the transformation to accept, because you can die in mid-process, and
that's why there's so few werewolves, even though they bite people and they live. It's because those people that try to turn, or not try to, but that
end up turning, they die.
They end up dying because of that infection. It's like, you know, their body starts to transform. Their body's weak, can't handle it, and they die. Right. That's why all the werewolves that survive, they all recognize one another, because their bodies are strong enough to handle the transformation to that and back from it.
Also, I thought they
And-
were like
and
their type of dog.
They're like an alpha. They're like an alpha type of breed. Is what the way they see themselves. And I'm like, that's
Maybe also a scent.
that's interesting lore, but I don't. Again, this is the werewolf stuff, so who knows if it's really true.
So that's fucking funny. So if there was a pack of werewolves, they're all pack of alphas, or what? You know what I mean? Basically,
that's what they would be. But that's also why they're solitary creatures. They don't work together.
right?
The majority of the time, they're
By themselves.
they're loners because of that reason. That if you get 2 or 3 werewolves together, I mean, you have a pack of wolves together. The wolves are badass because there's a pack.
Right.
Pack
And there's
is
always
badass.
a strong leader to
And the
run
pack
that.
is badass because of the wolves. Like you can't have one without the other. The lone wolf dies. So everybody always talks about this lone wolf mentality about a lot of things.
The Omega will always cease to exist without backup.
Yeah, and I'm like the lone wolf, that mentality. There's a reason why they die. It's because they're not part of a pack.
So those who don't know, Alpha is the main leader, and then you got your betas, which follow him. And then there's the Omega, which is the lone wolf. So basically, that's how it runs. There's no Sigma. That's how it was always been told. And if you look through history, you'll always see Alpha, Beta, Omega. Omega being the lone wolf, which the Omega is usually loner because they either got kicked out of the pack or of something of similar thing, or they just never found a pack on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just left.
Or their pack got wiped out and it was the last of the pack. You know what I mean? That's usually how it rolls.
And usually when that stuff happens, though, they don't make it in the wild. Though most wolves don't.
They'll die.
They either get wiped out by just nature itself, by trying.
Poachers.
Because if a wolf tries to take down a moose by himself, odds are not in the favor of the wolf. But if you have a pack of wolves,
There's a
Then
different
it's
story.
easy.
Their strategy.
yeah, it's easy.
They're like the raptors of our time.
Okay.
Fucking Jurassic Park.
Okay. Clever girl, motherfucker jumps out of the woods.
Probably show that. So
Look at psychopaths now. Psychopaths hardly work together because one psychopath can recognize the other one, but they rarely work together because they usually leave a stream of victims, right?
Right.
Because a psychopath is not the same as a sociopath. A sociopath is something different, but a real true psychopath usually lays waste to people around them and they have to keep moving. Think of like the circus. They're always moving. They're always on the road.
Right.
They don't stay. They're not
They're
like
nomadic, basically.
yeah, they're not like a Patrick Bateman. You know what I mean?
Like Christian Bell.
yeah, they're not just like stationed up in one fucking hotel and they're like just murking all these people and it's like, oh, this is wild. They're gonna catch on and figure out who you are really, really fast.
I mean, you're the only guy there that with the
Well,
fucking
That's what I'm saying. Though,
bag
like,
full of bodies.
that's what I'm saying. Like John Wayne Gacy, all these serial killers that murk these people, and they put all the bodies in one spot. You're like, that ain't gonna last, bro. Be real. Like the guys we never hear about are theoretically. There's a fucking truck driver that goes coast to coast that drives one coast to the other, pulls over, grabs a hooker, picks up a fucking hitchhiker, whatever, bro. Has their way with them, murks them, leaves them out in the fucking woods somewhere, jumps back in the rig, and they're gone. There's a body in the woods. No one will ever find it. And when they do, the guy that did it is long gone. There's no evidence. There's no trail. There's no way of proving anything. Because this guy has done this so many times. There's 15, 20, 60 bodies stacked up from one end of the country to the other, completely unsolved, untethered to him. That's the real fucking psychopath. Because they get to live out their desires, their urges.
And not only that, but
they're not caught.
They're smart too because they pick people.
Who's gonna miss a drug addict?
Who's gonna miss a homeless guy?
Right.
They pick the weakest people that are under society that nobody really bothers to look at, second guess or twice. You know, the hooker, the prostitute.
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna be looking for
now
hooker.
the old times, we're talking about the 1500s.
Right.
Werewolves didn't attack these people because they were in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
Now, animals not going to go into the middle of the city with people, pull them out and drag them into the woods
Oh,
and kill them. These are people that they picked off, are people that lived on the outskirts of society, that were peasants
That
and
makes
farmers.
sense.
So again,
That's in the stories you can hear that.
so that leads me to believe that same thing.
Oh yeah.
Here's the quick anecdote, and I'm gonna get past this because it happened in modern times. It happened roughly 40-ish years ago.
Oh wow. So it's recent then.
And the other reason I picked it is because it's here in Texas, and
You know,
Yeah.
you gotta represent the Texas.
right.
The Texas lunatics apparently.
Now I'm gonna say that the Texas lichens out here for some reason. Now there's a problem with. I have a problem with the media, anyways. But just to give you the quickest rundown, it has to do with a man named Bob Bussinger. All right, or Bussinger, but Bussinger sounds better when I read this. So Bob Bussinger has been under not an official gag order, but was told by the local sheriffs, do not comment on this story. We will handle it. The story goes like this. This guy, Bob, and his family buy a farmhouse. They buy this house out here in the woods, and they move out there. Everything's fine until one fucking night, there's something outside beating the shit out of his walls. Rips the siding off of one of the walls. It's hitting the wall so hard in this house that it's rattling the china and the dishes and stuff in the cabinets, knocking pictures off the wall. So he grabs his shotgun. He's like, "What the fuck, man?" He grabs his shotgun, runs outside, and in the darkness can make out a figure that's beating on these walls. So he fires a shot into the air with his shotgun. This creature runs off into the woods. So calls the sheriff. "Hey, man, I don't know what's going on. Something was out here." And of course, gets a third degree because can't use firearms.
Right.
Whatever. So anyhow, and this was in Texas, right? Almost 50 years ago. So let me make sure I've got the place. It's VIDOR, Vidor, Texas. If I remember correctly. This happened in VIDOR, Vidor, Texas, back in '78. So again, 40-ish years ago. And I had that pulled up on my phone because I want to make sure I get the dates right. So when this goes on, this happens a few times in a row, not just one night. It happens several nights, and every night this guy goes outside, fires a shot to scare this thing off, and then the sheriff show up again late. So they scold him, tell him, "Hey, look, Bob, you can't just be shooting your shotgun around, man. Don't shoot at this person or this thing or whatever it is. Hey, what if it's just some drunk guy or whatever? Don't do that. Call us, we'll handle it." After this goes on for a few nights, every time the sheriff show up, they never catch this person. It just runs off into the woods while it's harassing them all night. So they get pissed off. He calls a buddy of his. Bob calls a buddy of his, and he's like, "Hey, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what this thing is. I don't know who it is. Just, I want it to stop. The sheriffs aren't doing anything about it. I'm back against the wall."
I could see the frustration in that.
His buddy's like, "Hey, man, don't worry about it." He has a company where he kind of specializes in guard dogs. "I will send 3 guard dogs to your place. Stay inside. I'll leave them there and drop them off in the evening. And I'll come back to the next morning and I'll pick them up. And it'll run off anyone or anything trying to get inside your property. They're well-trained dogs." He leaves them two German Shepherds and a Doberman. So that night,
classic guard dogs.
yeah, that night he's like, "Cool." Bob's like, me and the wife are going to bed. We're ready to go. You know, everything's fucking calm and quiet. Crashes out. More loud noise. So he wakes him up and he's like, "All right, what the fuck?" There's beating on his walls. Dogs are screaming. So he's like, "Oh, whatever the hell this is, it's fucking up them dogs now." Grabs his shotgun again, and runs outside to go figure out what's going on when the dogs stop screaming. Goes outside. All 3 dogs are dead. All 3 of them are wiped out. The German Shepherd has its throat ripped out. Another German Shepherd has both of its rear back legs ripped off of its body. A Doberman has bite marks in it. Both of its legs ripped off and its neck broken. And the thing that did it ran off into the woods. Now, this isn't the reason that we know this happened is not because he saw it, because he heard it. He didn't see it. there was a news crew that had heard this story, that caught wind of it from the town over, and they showed up and said, hey, we're with Channel X, and we're here to watch whatever is going on here, and we're going to do investigative journalism. We're going to figure out what's going on.
That's when news was real.
Well, you think so, but
maybe when the actual good,
we'll get into this part here in a minute. This is one of the reasons I do not like media. But anyway, so they said, we're going to camp out, and we're going to see if anything happens tonight. So they camp out in front of this guy's property, and they watch all of this unfold from their vehicle.
Oh, wow.
This person running out of the woods to beat on this house gets attacked by these 3 dogs, and he fights them off barehanded, no weapons, using only his hands and his fucking teeth. Killed these 3 dogs.
Jesus. So he did it. No weapons, no nothing. This dude just had full fucking mental retard strength.
Let's say it. You're gonna say it, dude. Just say it.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Full retard. He went full retard on these motherfuckers.
So he literally, bro. When he bit the dog's throat out, he twisted his head to where it almost came off.
Jesus.
So and this is with his bare hands, and he's fucked up. So he runs because they attacked him, right? And he just runs off into the woods. This can't be a normal person. This has to be. Here we go. Drum roll, please. Ta-da. A werewolf attacked this guy's property, killed his dogs, and so the media fucking runs with it. This investigative reporter was like, we saw all of it. We were there. We witnessed this terrible whatever. When they write up this story, they write up the story saying that it was 8 dogs, not 3, but 8 dogs, including some puppies to make it more terrible. And the thing ripped down one of the doors and was sleeping in one of these lean-to sheds in the rear of the property, and they couldn't figure out. Like they wrote this whole big ass fucking puff piece, bro, about what this was. And they asked Bob. Bob gave his version of the story. And he's like, look, man, the sheriff told me specifically, do not comment on anything. The sheriff's department will iron this out. They'll stop this from happening because they didn't want to give out the address when this was happening because the media had found out about it, but they didn't give out the address because there were a lot of drunk people in the area. They were afraid we're going to go over there with their shotguns and be shooting that shit on this property because everyone wants to kill the werewolf, right? So that was specifically why they didn't do it. But the media knew where he was, and they showed up. So when they wrote up this big-ass story, the werewolf did it. So now we have a fucking Texas werewolf running around fucking murking German shepherds, apparently.
Does he have a poncho and
a
fucking
taco hat? This motherfucker's making German tacos and shit, bro. Fucking, I'm like, man, calm down. So that was their story was so far out of the lines.
Poncho with the
You want to talk about yellow journalism? Like less facts, more fun, that kind of shit. That's what the fuck they did, and they wrote article after article.
I was hoping for the real journalism, but I guess
that's what I said, bro. No,
I miss those days when real people would get in the line of fire and show the true journalism, like in Vietnam, and like stuff like that. Show the truth, man. But damn, this media is so locked up now. They can flip a burger and say it's a chicken, and people will believe it all too well.
And they're like, well, hey, if the news media saw it actually happen, no human being. This is their reason. Now, don't get me wrong. If someone told you, hey, I saw a man go into a yard, fight off 3 of these dogs, barehanded,
ripped them to shreds with his bare hands,
kill all 3, rip them up, barehanded, I wouldn't believe that story either. I'd be like, bullshit, dude. You know how fucking big the German Shepherds, bro? Even if it's smaller.
Then there's that thing, hold my beer and let's see if we can actually recreate this.
Good luck. You know, they didn't, 3 dogs weren't able to pull this guy to the ground. That does sound fucking crazy for a normal person. If it was a normal person. So here's the backstory. After 45-ish or 43, 45, whatever. After 40 plus years, Bob comes out. He's interviewed by a few people. The story is never told correctly. He's pissed off because this story that they put out in the news isn't real. Didn't happen the way they said it happened.
Yeah.
And no one can listen to it. because they're not going to run with his version of the story.
No, they're gonna run
'Cause
with the media's version of
it's not-
obviously.
It's not fantastical enough. So what does he do? He tells his version of the story later to people who come up and they're like, look, man, you were there. This happened to you. Do you want to give your version of it? And he's like, all these years ago, I was told not to say anything, but it's been 40 years. What are they going to do now? This is what actually happened. The person that did this was a real person. It wasn't a werewolf. It was a real guy. They didn't release the name. The police, the sheriffs didn't give the name of this guy. This guy he was told that he was criminally insane. Whatever that, I don't think there's a legal definition for that, but that's what they said. This guy was legally insane, criminally insane, and he beat the shit out of and subdued 6 orderlies. I don't know what you use the term, technicians, whatever. People that worked there, 6 staff members beat the shit out of him, just because he decided, hey, I'm not going to be here anymore. He left.
Sure.
He left, went through the woods, went to the house he grew up in, which happened to be that guy's house that they just bought. So he gets there, his family's not there. These people are there that are not his family. So he starts beating the shit out of the walls in the house to scare them out of there so he can be home. Well, in his mind, that makes perfect sense. To everybody else, like, what the fuck is going on?
No.
So after all this is over with, the sheriff, every time they show up, he sees the cars and he runs away. It's common sense. He did beat the shit out of and kill those 3 dogs barehanded. The guy that did this, the sheriffs told him that you could not beat this person. In the words of Bob, Messenger, whatever, he said that this person felt no pain. That was a problem he had mentally. He could feel no pain. So if you beat the shit out of him, he wouldn't feel it.
Oh, yeah.
If you shot him, it wouldn't slow him down. And I quote, unless you killed him, it wouldn't slow him down. Unless you shot him to kill him.
Oh yeah. Shoot you kill.
So like that's how far gone this guy was. So that's why he was able to fight these dogs off, and he got shredded up. He got fucked up from them.
Mm-hmm.
So after this happened, he just gave up and left. He walked through the woods, found his way to the highway, started walking. The police, the sheriffs were driving by, the deputies found him, and they knew who he was. He had blood and stuff all over him. He was all beat up, and they were like, "Hey, this is the guy. We know who this is," because they knew from this mental asylum, however far away it was, but pretty relatively close, he escaped. Now, by the way, here's a little note. They didn't report him missing until several hours after he was already gone. That's how bad he beat these people.
Whatever beat him senseless, basically, he beat him unconscious, and they finally woke up with consciousness. And
whatever he did, like you said, probably unconscious, but whatever he did to him, it took him hours to report this guy gone. So anyway, they pull up next to him, and his mental state, this guy, we'll call him John, right? So they pull up next to him, they're like, "Hey, can we help you, John?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are you doing out here?" And John tells him he's Jesus Christ. So right now, he's Jesus Christ, and he's here to save souls, and he needs to save the sinners, whatever that means. And they tell him, "You know what, man? That's great. We know who you are, and we know exactly where all these sinners are that you need to talk to and save, man. Jump in the ride, and we'll get you there as quick as possible." He's all gung-ho, jumps in the police car. They haul ass down the road, right to the mental institution. They drop his ass off in there. He walks in, and he's Jesus Christ for the day, I guess, to go save all these souls, the other people that are in there. What happened to him after that, I don't know. That the story ends there. Bob said that was all that he was told about that, and that's as far as that went. But that's the latest werewolf story, besides another man, which we may cover, who was mysteriously killed in Texas, outside of Weatherford. Media now is word of mouth, right? So Mogley stories.
78.
78. So
1978. Think about this. My stories are covered 1589 and 1598. So you can imagine the big time frame difference from those 2 stories to now. So see, werewolves are
still there. If you go to the bayous of Louisiana,
yeah,
the native Cajuns and You know, the people that are there, the swamp people, they'll tell you about the Rugaru. The Rugaru is their version of a werewolf or the dogman.
Dogman.
And certain nights when there's a full moon, close to a full moon, the people that are on the bayous that are out there will tell you, do not go outside. We do not go out tonight. We stay home these 2-3 days, whatever. We do not leave. And apparently there are people that are there that take that very seriously. And I don't have the guy on the podcast today, but he is a friend of mine. And he can sit here and explain to you the stories he's heard because he lives there. And he's right on the bayou. He can sit there and tell you the stories he's heard.
Oh, I'd like to talk to him about that.
Destruction to the boats. Me and another buddy of mine, JD, shout out Bunker Buddies.
Bunker Buddies,
Yeah,
shout out.
Yeah, he had discussed this with us a while back. So anyway, the werewolf stuff, it hasn't gone away. It doesn't look like it's going away. Do you think it's
mythic creature?
Yeah, do you think it's real, Mogley?
I'm gonna just be real. I don't believe I'm biased because I like I said, it's my favorite creature.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna be biased about it. But on a real note, as you know, I'm gonna say no because as much as I would love for it to be real, because me, I'd be going hunting, bro. I'd be werewolf hunting all day, every day. At this point, they're monsters, they're not even human, so why not? But on a real note, jokes aside, I'm gonna say no because I just believe in lunatics. Let's put it that way. I believe in psychopaths. I believe in lunatics, and I see where interpretation maybe unfolds to say otherwise. So I'm gonna say no as far as that goes. I do believe in lunatics, though, but lycanthropy,
the craziness that happens around
right?
the moon.
Lycanthropy is a different topic. I don't believe in it. Maybe that's just something that you never know, man. Hey, one day somebody might find a lycanthrope in real life and actually say, hey, look, I found it. It's right here. And if I see it in a cage and this motherfucker's or whatever the fuck it makes noise and tries to break out of the cage and I see that shit for real, all right, we'll talk.
All right, well, so Mogley, I did mention at the beginning that there was submitted, I'm going to say proof in quotations.
Okay, proof.
Because submitted in quotation evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are people that are cryptozoologists. That's what they call themselves. That's people that study animals. Yeah, these are people that study animals that are not exactly proven to be real or cataloged with regular zoology, which is study
For
animals.
people who don't know, that means sirens, mermaids, werewolves, vampires, chupacabra,
all the animals.
Mothman, Jersey Devil,
all of the animals.
Those kinds of cryptids, ghouls, zombies, you name it, they know about it somehow. Pixies, fairies,
Leprechauns,
all that.
So like that's all like
the shillelagh guy.
So these guys, the cryptozoologists, there are people that follow Mothman, the people that follow this and follow that. There are people that specifically follow the werewolf stuff, no matter where it goes, and their neck of the woods, literally in America, whether it be all along the Appalachian Mountains, whether it be in the bayous and swamps of Louisiana, the forests of Yellowstone,
to the forests of New Jersey, man.
Right, I was gonna say all up the Appalachian, it goes all the way to Jersey, and then of course, I was about to say, then you got the Bigfoot guys, the redwoods over in California,
here
all
in Texas
over
too.
All over.
Bigfoot in Texas. Don't kid yourselves.
Yeah. I mean, all over the place, people have submitted evidence.
Don't we have two cryptids here? The chupacabra and the Bigfoot, right?
We've got a couple. Mm-hmm. And of course, the werewolf.
The werewolf.
Not this one, but the other one.
The werewolf.
There's supposed to be another one, and that's for another person. But anyway, the way I see it is just this. I don't believe the werewolf is a real physical being. I don't believe.
You think it's like a spiritual type thing?
I believe the werewolf in the sense of it being a real animal or whatever. It may have been a dire wolf. It may have been some other huge species of wolf, maybe once upon a time. That pretty much covers all of it. I don't believe that the werewolf stuff is. I don't believe it's people turning into an animal. I believe that it's more figurative than literal. And I also believe that mankind is capable of way worse stuff than we attribute to the mythological legendary creature.
Right.
So, I mean, in conclusion, that's kind of where I'm sitting.
Yeah, I feel you.
I think it's it's the age-old question.
What do you guys think? You let us know in the comments. And also, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to us. And we will get back on that then. As far as the werewolf thing goes, I have no other complaints, brother, about you.
That's it for me.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing.